Hi, friends. Welcome to this presentation about the 5 family habits that create self-motivated leaders. I'm really excited to talk about this because I think it is a subject that a lot of us need to talk a little more about. We tend to get a bit stressed out and worried because our kids maybe aren't learning everything they need to learn, or maybe we're not doing enough for them. And when we realize that our job isn't to push them or to spoon feed them information, but just to create an environment where they grow into their potential, then our life becomes a lot more peaceful. We're more able to just be in the present moment, enjoy our children, enjoy what we're doing, develop our own talents, and not be so worried and stressed all the time. And so I'm excited to talk about this, and I think you'll be really excited when we're done with this presentation about how you can move forward with your things in your family. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the presentation here. Okay. So the 5 family habits that grow self-motivated leaders. What's the most important curriculum for your kids? So like I said, I'm Karen Bates. I'm the leader of an educational movement I call warrioreducation.com. And I love being a mom. I didn't always love being a mom. I thought that after I had one baby, that I would probably only have one baby because it was so much harder than I realized. I really struggled. I cried a lot because I was not prepared. I thought people had lied to me about what motherhood was like. And I felt like I was in the twilight zone, and it was such a difficult transition for me, as I'm sure it is for most moms. And I thought I wasn't cut out for it. But then after I was able to grow into the role and I started to give it my whole heart, I started to learn some things about myself and about what I was capable of, and I started to love it. And little by little, I had one more child because I enjoyed it so much. And then one more, I ended up with 8 beautiful kids. You can see them in this picture. This was again at Hiawatha Trail last August, and when we got to bike that together, it was a lot of fun. And the other thing I love that has to do with that is nature. I love being outside. I think I learned so much about myself and about God's love for me whenever I am outdoors. And so it's a place I love to get out to often. And then my other passion is learning about education. I love reading about it. I love watching movies about it. Anything that has to do with education, I'll pick out principles. And if anyone ever wants to discuss something about education, I'm happy to discuss it with you, because to me, it's just so exciting and so interesting, because it's just how you learn to live the most fulfilled life you can live. That's what education is for us to start to see what is the best life I can live and how do I do that. And it's just exciting and neat. And so what I do is I help families create homes that grow self-motivated leaders. So I do that in my own home, and I mentor others in helping that happen in their own home. If you are a mom, you are familiar with this sense of deep inadequacy that comes as we try to teach our children. We realize that they have so much potential. We look in their eyes and we see there's so much there, but we are their mother and we have so many weaknesses, and we're so inconsistent, and we make so many mistakes. And we don't know all the things they need to know, right? The world is changing so quickly. Like, what are they supposed to be prepared for? We don't even know. And like, for me, sometimes I think I can't even remember past like basic algebra. How am I going to teach them, math or whatever? Those are like the simple little things. But then there's like the big things where like, how am I going to teach them to navigate this world that is so different from the world I grew up in? And so we feel this weight of responsibility sometimes, and it can feel pretty daunting. And on top of that, we have laundry, we have dishes, we have meals we're trying to make, we have paperwork we're trying to catch up on, and then there's service projects, and we want to frame pictures, and we want to do our food storage, and there's all these home projects and errands we have to run, and it becomes like way too much waste, way more than we're capable of, right? And then, and the picture at the bottom there, the kid on the phone, there's this pull from the media as well, right? And from others who are trying to pull them in a different direction than maybe we want them to go, or that are distracting them and keeping them from being able to reach that potential. It's really difficult to know how to navigate that and how to fight against that pull as well. This causes us to often feel really guilty. We feel guilty that we're not the perfect mom that our children deserve, that we don't have all the time that we need to teach them everything they need to know, because like I said, we have all these other things we are trying to do, and we would love to just sit down with them all day and teach them beautiful things, but there's just not enough time to do, even a little bit of that sometimes, and that can be really hard. And, half the time we don't even have time to shower. That's just kind of how it goes. It's tricky to figure out how to balance it all. So we wonder, how can we help them reach their potential when we feel like we are barely holding it together most of the time. Well, the truth is that we cannot do it all, and that's just the way it is. But what we can do is focus on what's most important. When we do that, then all the other things take care of themselves, and we don't have to worry about them. This makes it so that our children learn to discover what they need, and they choose to learn, and they choose to work hard to achieve what they need to achieve, and they take initiative. So we don't have to use our time and energy to constantly nag them and push them. And everybody is working for a common cause and lifting and helping and supporting one another when we're able to create this environment of growth in our home. Yeah, that's what I just said. We can start supporting each other and learning and growing to use our unique gifts to change the world. So this is what I've learned as I've sifted through many curriculums, have a gazillion of them, and I've read a bunch of different books about homeschooling methods. There's 5 super important things, family habits that create a home that grows self-motivated learners. And I discovered the most important curriculum that you can invest in. So as I talk about these things, I encourage you to have a notebook nearby, some way to take notes, because I want you to be thinking about, as I go through each habit, what's a way that I can incorporate this into my home? You know, all of our homes look different, our family dynamics are different, our situations are different, but the principles are the same. So as you take notes, think, how can I apply this to my particular circumstances and my particular family? And you'll be surprised at the insights that come to you as we go through them. So the first one is something probably you're already doing. It's family work. So your children need to have family work systems in place that teach them initiative, responsibility, service, and discipline. So family work, we tend to look at it sometimes as like a way to clean the house, but it's so much more than that, because when we teach our children to work, it builds their character. And so it feels like it's something very temporary. You know, the house is going to be messy in like 5 minutes anyway, but it's not, because we are growing our character. We're building who we are, and that's a very eternal thing. And so when we can make our family work like a mini simulation of real life, we're practicing patience, we're practicing getting along, we're practicing taking initiative, doing things well, doing things on time, giving our best to something when we don't feel like it, because that's a big part of life. Sometimes we think, oh, family work, we've got to make it fun so our kids love it. But the reality is that sometimes it isn't fun, and things in life sometimes aren't fun, and we have to do them anyway. And our kids need to learn that that's just an important part of life, and we do things that are hard. And so that's an important habit to incorporate in our home in some way, make sure that our kids understand that that's why it's there. It is to get the house clean, but more importantly, it's to also grow our characters and help one another and learn to serve each other. The second habit is we need to have time for inspiration in our day. It's really easy to get distracted with so many things, and we forget to take a little time to be inspired as to who we are and where we need to be. Our children need to fill their minds with inspiring stories about people who overcame hard things and learn to serve others with their unique gifts, because our children are going to have some hard things to go through sometimes, and they're going to have to be resilient, and they're going to have, if they have a reservoir of stories in their mind of other people who went through difficult things and came out of them and still managed to do incredible things because of them, often because of who they became as they struggle through these hard things, our children will be able to move forward and not be too weighed down when they think maybe they're the only one, or that things are so hard and maybe they're never going to get better. They'll have story after story to prove to them that things always get better, and that difficulty brings us to understand who we are and help us become who we need to be. They will find inspiration in stories, like I said, and in the people they know, and in nature. And so it's good to surround them with good people and to take them out in nature once in a while. And I don't want this to feel overwhelming. Like, I don't want to be like, okay, now I've got to make sure I'm reading a story and taking my kid in nature every day and all of these things. I just want you to think of something like, what's one way I can incorporate one of these things into my home? And other ways if you need to, but it's a habit that we got to have somewhere in our day. The third one is we take a time to be creative, to take initiative. A lot of our kids are scheduled way too, there's too much busyness in their day, and they don't have time to figure out what they love and what they want to do, or how to create, because every hour they're being told what they're supposed to be doing, and they have assignments, and they have, this class at this time and this class at this time, and then there's this, and they're just overscheduled. And so if we don't give them space then they just learn to be victims. They're always being acted upon and made to do things. And they don't get that opportunity to really figure out, what is it that I love? How is it that I want to serve? What is it that I need to do? So they need space in their day where they can just not have distractions, not have devices, and not have things that they have to do, but that they're able to create and take initiative and find creative projects or ways that they can learn. They need time set aside for them to practice their creativity. And family habit number 4 is they need time to develop required and inspired skills. And so, as you know, all children need some basic skills like reading, writing, and arithmetic. But beyond that, they need to learn to seek inspiration about their work and about their talents. And so they need time set aside each day for them to work on their basic skills. And some of us send our kids to school for that. Some of us keep them home for that. Some of us go to different classes. It doesn't really matter, as long as there's some time set aside every day for them to work on some basic skills that they're going to need in order to be successful, to fulfill their mission, to be able to reach people and make a difference in the world. But beyond those basic skills, there's also particular ones that they're going to be drawn to, that they're going to be inspired to develop. So for one of my kids, it's music. He loves the violin, he loves choir, and he's just all about that. I have another child who's way into art and painting, and she's incredible. 2 of my daughters are very good at painting and art, and one of them loves to write poetry. The other one loves interior design and decorating, and she makes incredible, beautiful crafts. Another son's way into politics, and he's always doing debates, and he has this TikTok channel that he sits and shares he does a bunch of research and shares his political views and why they're important, and how we can, how he tries to persuade people to understand the truths in the area that he believes in. And like my 15-year-old right now, he is trying to figure out who he is, but he takes time. Like I went downstairs the other day and he was reading Jane Eyre, and I said, no, he's 14. Sorry, I called him 15. He's 14 still. I said, hey, what made you pick up Jane Eyre? I think that's an awesome book. And he's like, oh, some people recommended it and I wanted to read it. And he's just about done with it now. He's enjoying it. But he also loves like being in nature and exploring and hunting and seeing what plants are and bringing something home and looking it up. So he is very creative in that way. So each of our kids are going to have lots of different talents. And skills, ideas, and ways of being. And so we need to give them time to develop those. And we say, what are the skills? What are the inspired skills you feel you need to work on? And then let's work on them and let's make time to do that. Not just be so rescheduled with everything I think you need to do, but have some time where you can create and do the things, build the skills that are sometimes hard. I guess this is different than creativity, and that creativity is kind of like, looking at what we love and creating with it. This is where like sometimes it's not easy to learn the violin, but we make ourselves do it because it's like that family work thing. We're building our discipline and we feel inspired. It's something that we need to do and that will bless the world someday somehow. And that will help build our character too as we practice hard things. Let's see, family habit number 5 is connection rituals. We need to have these in our home because love is the fuel of motivation and desire, and that's where that connection comes in. We need connected rituals because they'll connect us to God, to each other, and they'll inspire us to do something to ease the suffering in our community and in the world. So it connects us to humanity. So those could look like family meals, like this family in this picture is having, family prayer, some family scripture reading, family devotionals, things that our family is doing that our family can do that will connect us to God and that will connect us to each other so we feel that love and that drive and that desire to make the world a better place because we're so full of love. And so a lot of times if I'm not feeling that connection to God and my children are struggling, I have to make sure that I pause and I connect to Him before I connect to them so that, by connecting to both, I'm connecting them to God. And so that's one of our important things as parents is to learn to make those connections and teach our children about them and help them start to make them because that's what will fuel that desire and that drive to do good for the world. Okay, and then as I gave you all of these different, habits and important things that are important to have in our home. It can start to feel a little bit overwhelming if you're not doing some of them or all of them or whatever. But the important thing is that you prayerfully choose which one or two do I want to start developing, which one can I put in. You can watch this video later after you have those ones down and add another one. But and in the basic training course that I have in my website, I have a link that has a template that helps you kind of outline that and show you, step by step, how can I choose which one or two that I want to work on right now. But they're super important, because once these 5 habits are in place and we're improving on them and working on them, everything else takes care of itself. We don't need to nag or push our children. We don't have to make sure everybody's doing everything we think they need to do. We'll have time to invest in the most important curriculum that our children need, which is you. You are the book that will most often be open to your kids. Yours is the life that they will study most. They will learn how to live as they watch you work to use your gifts to lift your family and ease the suffering in the world. They will learn from your success, but even more importantly, by how you handle failure, weaknesses, and mistakes. They need to see you try and fail, then get up and try again. They will watch you lead them to trying new systems, changing them up, and then trying again and again. Your failures and mistakes, handled with a growth mindset, will be their greatest inspiration. So if after this you already know what to do, what your next step is, take your ideas and run with them. Don't be afraid of what everyone else does or thinks or says. That tends to be a lot of our downfall too. Sometimes we get really inspired and I'm going to go with this and I'm going to try to do this in my home. And then we start to look around and we're like, oh, but she's really good at making sure her kids do science every day. And look, they're like a bunch of scientists and they're geniuses. And oh, that mom, all her kids play like a different string instrument. They have this beautiful musical home, and maybe I need to be more like that. Or that mom over there, she's a math whiz and whatever else. And we start to compare ourselves to everyone else, and we start to feel like that pressure again to make sure our kids learn everything. And so we need to stop looking outside of everyone else and just look up to God and say, what is it that my family needs? What is it that I can do? What's my next step? And go ahead and do it. And that's how we build step by step our unique family culture, our unique family systems that will bless our kids and grow our environment in the way that we want. I know these habits work. I know that they will organically grow your children into their potential without that push. Like I said, you'll be able to stop nagging and pushing and learn to support each other in using your gifts to bless the world. And that's a really beautiful way to live. If you're not sure where to start, I wanted to make sure that you know that I have a basic training program as well as a foundations program that can help you get started, and then you can move on from there if you choose. If you need more help, this is what they're for. If you need more help in how to incorporate all of this into your home, if you need a few more examples or more understanding in a step-by-step way, if you don't know how to get your children to want it, you're like, I totally want this, but I don't know how to get my children to buy in. This is really helpful for that. If you're not good at staying consistent with new habits, you know, I'm going to be super inspired in the next 2 days, and then it's all going to go downhill. You need something to kind of help you keep going. If you want to learn more concrete ways of what these systems look like and different examples of how they can appear in your home, and you want to apply them in a step-by-step format, I invite you to try the Find Your Camp Bootcamp 1. It's the foundation bootcamp. It'll walk you through creating a vision, discerning your motives, choosing the motives you want to guide your decisions, rewriting your current story with truth statements so that you can begin discovering your path. And so it's a really good foundational course where you can start seeing what this actually looks like in your life, and then you can start applying it outwards towards your home. And that's what this does, the rest of the boot camps do. You start from there, and then the different boot camps will give you different tools and systems, family systems, and a way to impact the world with the different tools that you're learning. And so it's very step-by-step, very systematic. You go from one to the next. There's, just very, this is what you do. Here's the habit you're trying to develop. And then when you've got this, you move on. There's journaling exercises through it all. You'll incorporate family systems, connected rituals, and personal habits into your life and home. I won't go into all of these. You can just go ahead and pause it and read what some of these do. But like I said, they each give you a tool, a system, sometimes a couple systems, and a way to impact the world. So if you feel like this is something that you're feeling inspired to move towards, but you're worried about the lack of time or about this or that, I just will encourage you to not let perfectionism hold you back. A lot of times we feel like I can't add anything else to my plate because everything in my life isn't perfect right now. And that's really a lie, because um, the more we progress in any area of our lives, like the more we are lifted. And if we're constantly busy, and the things we're doing now aren't working, if we choose not to change them, then they're going to keep not working. And so we've got to find a way to move past them, to see things differently, and to have a different type of lifestyle in order to move forward in a different way that's more peaceful and full of joy. We want to live life on purpose, and we don't want just to always be on like letting high alert. Things happen and we fix them. We want to make sure we're moving forward in a very challenging ourselves to grow instead of waiting for the challenges to come our way. We want to be more present and enjoy the moments, and we want to let go of the guilt because we're not doing everything right. So, if you want to progress with a step-by-step system that leads you to a home that organically grows self-motivated leaders, including yourself, then please come and try it. It's a lot of fun. I think you're going to love it, and um, love you. You are doing a great work. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. It's supposed to feel that way because that's what motivates us to turn to God, because we know we can't do it by ourselves. But as we add the right things to our lives and we focus on the things that matter most, we'll be amazed as we see the miracles that take place in our home and in our family. And that's what it's about, is learning to reach out to Him and to have these rituals in our lives that remind us of Him and of His work and our why. So that's what I hope to help you do if you want to keep going on this journey. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you got a lot of good things you can start applying right away that will bless your home. And I hope to see you at the next boot camp.